the truth profoundly. These are Germans here. Follow me to the message clear. Go Paul, Das, and Paul. They say DUANE, so writer leads the way. Time to madness, it's blight. Gotta wake up, see the light.
So this dream consisted, just kind of for context, consisted of 2 parts. I had partially woke up and fell back asleep and found myself right back into the dream. I'll notify when that part comes up. All right. So I had found myself with a group of friends. Not entirely sure where we were, but it seemed like I was in a town, kind of like a town's main center. There were kind of cars going down the main road, some other people walking along the sidewalks. The sun was shining through the trees and the leaves rustling. It kind of felt like an early mid-spring time. It was really nice out. Birds chirping, just some chatter of people in the distance, and heavy footsteps as people walk down the bricked sidewalk. I don't know what I was doing there with these friends. I'm not even sure if I even knew them, but I had a sense they were friends and I was supposed to be there. They were guiding me off down the road. Some of them wanted to look in some shops. There were some antique ones. There was a bakery down the road. General homemade candy store, and some clothing stores. Just kind of walked past them. Some of the friends in the group, I'm not entirely sure how many were there, but they would just walk in, walk out. But it almost seemed like the second they'd walk in, they'd be walked out. But it was kind of like insinuated that time had passed. I don't know how much, but supposedly it had, but it didn't seem like anything to me. They were just hanging out, chatting. I was chatting too, but I don't know what I was saying. I was kind of there on a ride, but I seemed happy enough. But then we found our way to this really interesting building. Right next to, I believe, was the city administration, or maybe it was the courthouse. It more looked like a courthouse, and very old, like it was built in probably early 1800s and well maintained. But the building next to it was similarly just as old, not as big, just 1 story, but it had really interesting designs on the outside. Then I noticed that a symbol that I've seen before. It looked like a Masonic symbol, I believe, was what my friend told me. He pointed up, right at the square up in the corner of the door, carved into the wood. And then some other symbols that he seemed to know the meaning for. And he looks at me and smiles. "Are you interested?" I just kind of shrugged. I was like, I like old buildings. I heard these places have some really cool interiors. And he nodded. It's like, well, I can get you in. I'm like, oh, cool. I have no interest in anything other than just, I want to see the architecture. There's not many well-maintained older buildings with more handcrafted woodworking and stone masonry. But this building had some particularly really cool stuff. So we go inside, and he's just kind of showing me around. There's no one else in there, just weird. But upon entering and looking around for a little bit, I'm realizing that the building is far, far larger on the inside than the outside. Then I look back at the door. It looks like I've walked in almost twice the length of the building. And then I turn back around, and the hallway has stretched longer. Then out of confusion, I turn back around and look at the door. I'm further from the door now, but I don't remember walking. I look back, turn back around, and the hallway is extended even more. At this point, I'm getting a little confused. And I remember asking my friend who was showing me around, and he just kind of smiled and said, "It does that. Not for everyone, but it will do that for those it can trust, for those that can see." I was very confused. I asked him what he meant by that, and he just kind of shrugged. It's like, maybe one day you'll find out. I was kind of annoyed by that. I wanted to know. But I shrugged it off and continued looking at the interesting architecture. It's just varying statues, columns, some wood, some stone, very intricate patterns and symbols, pictures, murals were just carved into them. It was really cool. I was impressed. Then,
Hey, Phil. I don't mean, excuse me for interrupting you. Okay.
You're fine.
Just to help you along here, here's the idea as you're going through this. Okay. So yes, it's understandable. So on the outside of the building, you see it a particular way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go inside the building, it seems to be bigger. Okay. So that is showing that there is more to the idea of the building than it is seen from its structure.
Hey, Dwayne, we don't want to interrupt.
You see?
Do you think you could mute?
Well, I wanted to tell him that because as he's going along, he will better understand why it is exaggerated. So again, that's the idea. It's like looking at a person, and what do you see? You see their body form. And basically, what you get from them is, for the most part,
Mute so Phil can continue his experience.
So what you see and what you hear from them is basically it. But if you could go inside of them, then you would see universes upon universes, wouldn't you?
You always say that we shouldn't interrupt.
Boy, Eric, you're so goddamn rude at times. That's why I punch the hell out of you, because you're just, you're just really stupid. You know that? You just don't get it. Yeah, exactly. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, Phil, continue. Don't
Absolutely.
let Dwayne
Eric,
distract you.
Eric, could you mute yourself, please?
After Dwayne. Oh, he already did.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dwayne. So I'm continuing down the hallway and further looking at the intricate designs and patterns, and my friend puts his hand on my shoulder and gestures to this really elaborate double door entryway. The doors are closed. They're rather large doors. They're probably 8 or 9 feet tall, and each one's probably about 5 feet wide. So they're rather large doors, made of wood, very intricate patterns. This one seems to have what looked like a history, or it was trying to tell a history of some sort. I couldn't quite make out the images. They were still blurry, but I knew it was very well carved. My friend said, "If you're curious, you should go through there." And I am a curious person, so I nodded and went to press the door open. At first, the doors were very heavy, almost as if they wouldn't budge. But then I felt this vibration in my palms as they pressed a little bit more firmer onto the doors, as if an energy began to surge. At first, I thought the energy was surging into me, but instead it was energy pouring from my palms into the door, and suddenly the door just began to open, almost effortlessly, as if the weight was lifted away. Upon entering, it was a massive library, multiple stories, floor to ceiling stacked with books and shelving, those old classical ladders on those silly wheels that would press along the walls so you can get access to everything. Nobody else was in there. There were chandeliers, or not really chandeliers, I think they were, but they were lit by candles. old school candles, the proper ones that you light on fire. And he said, enjoy yourself, go through, read. Take your time, there is no rush. I just walk in, my friend stays outside, and the doors don't close, they remain open. As if it was symbolizing that I truly could leave whenever I wanted. It was my choice to go in and to seek knowledge. I'm walking through, and I don't even know where to start. There are thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of books, and even scrolls. Well, I come up upon a particular small shelf near the entrance, and I decide to grab it. It's a fairly normal sized book. It's like 10 inches by 6 inches and a couple inches thick. And I just decide to open it, as I couldn't really read the title. It was blurred, or not really blurred. I think it was just worn out. It was a rather old book. And inside, I start skimming through, and nothing is really making sense. It's almost as if it's in a different language, but the lettering's kind of changing, and occasionally I would see an English letter in some of the words. Then I come across a phrase, and it has my name in it, so it catches my eye. And I tried transcribing. There were multiple books like this. I tried transcribing them down as best as I could, which is part of the reason why I had ended up waking up. This first book, in it, all I could make out was Phil would definitely know exactly what to say. Conform or disconnect. They must all fall in line. The wakeful mind never admits. Just found that interesting. It kind of sounds like the things I tend to say. Especially when I get in deep conversations with people. I get very philosophical. So I close the book and place it back on the shelf. I'm walking around again, and then I see another book. This one looks more modern, probably printed in the last 10 years. It has more like the plastic cover on it and stuff. And I grab that as well. And I can't read anything on the outside. So again, I repeat and open it. I'm skimming through. The letters are jumbled characters and shapes. And then as I randomly flip through the pages, I start seeing English letters again, and then suddenly I come across a page with something legible. And this one said something along the lines of, one thing that truly makes my blood boil is when people are not aware of the 5G network is killing people. I know this for a fact and have been trying to warn everybody. Fluoride-loaded water, chemicalized food make you slower thinkers, but they cannot replace poisonous Wi-Fi and poisoned air, as it causes immediate death to everyone. No excuses for not learning how to use filter, protective screens, and drink filtered water through natural stones collected from the river, and avoid being outdoors on days that it rains. I'm fairly certain that's what it had said. Pretty close. And I just closed the book, put it back up on the shelf, and continue on. I go through multiple different books, really not finding anything that's catching my attention, grabbing a few, skimming through, and nothing's really turning up into like English to where I can read it. Until finally I come across another one. This one, I can kind of make out the outside of the book. It's kind of more nature. Plants, woods, forests, animals, sun glaring down through the trees onto the grass, in plants below. So, same with this one. I had opened it. Same thing. Illegible until I go on and finally come across a page. And surprised yet again, my name is mentioned. This one said something along the lines, actually, it is Phil, and only Phil, because his perspective is truth and love. Makes a change. He talks like everyone else, just likes life and the meaning to live more on being with nature, as the indigenous people do when there is no control and no pollution to worry about. I kind of nod to myself, agreeing with what was said. That is exactly what I would think. And I'm almost starting to think these books are somehow reading my mind or my subconscious in some way. I continue on, and then my friend kind of pokes in. I hear him kind of the wood floor creak a little bit, and it caught my attention and looked back over my shoulder and turned around to face him. He's smiling real big and is nodding. You enjoying yourself? And I nod back and go, this is interesting. Why is my name in these books? And he just shrugs and says, sometimes that just happens. I could take the same book you just had, and if it syncs with me, my name might be in it instead. Found it really odd, but at this point I know, just don't think about it. If you think about things too much, then you're just going to get lost and then restart the cycle all over again. So I shrug it off again. And then my friend speaks up once more and says, have you seen him yet? I shake my head, wondering what he's talking about. And I said, no. What do you mean, seen who? He chuckles again, seeming to get some entertainment out of it. And he says, well, if you stay here long enough, you'll probably meet him. It's okay. He's not here to hurt you in any way or misguide you. In fact, you should listen to him. You might find him enlightening. He thinks very much like you. I just thought that was a weird thing to say. I mean, the library is quite massive. There could easily be dozens of people throughout it somewhere around one of the nooks and crannies. And then he just kind of walks out. Then I can, at this point, this is about when I had woke up, and jotted as much down as I could, so I could try remembering everything while it was still fresh. I lay back down in the bed and tried to go back to sleep. And to my surprise, I have a somewhat lucid dream. Not completely. Like, I'm aware I'm dreaming, but I'm not in control. I'm just kind of like going along with the narrative at this point. So I pick back up in the library. I'm in a different spot, as if I was wandering around still, holding a book in my hand, and I'm going through it. And this one again, the words start to form. And on the next page, seeing what I thought was a legible paragraph again. And this one read something along the lines of, remember, awareness is key. Don't drink the poison. Stay hydrated with pure consciousness and see natural life. The indigenous people already know this secret. To real freedom is found beyond this temporary 5-sense reality. And even more than this earth is plain, is connected by nephora and love through our inner universes that connect everyone everywhere. Kind of pondered. I didn't know what euphoria wasn't euphoria, it was euphoria. Started with an N. Wasn't quite sure what that meant at the time. So I just kind of shrugged it off. I'm finding all this very fascinating. All these books. It could take lifetimes, many, many lifetimes to go through every single book here. I pick up a small one. And this one I thought was a book, but it was like a tiny folded scroll. And I began unfolding it. And before I could fully unfold it, there's multiple sides on the interior. Again, random writing, and then one short part that was legible to me. And this one said something along the lines of, "You've taken this one small step on your life's path towards being more aware, and I know you will get past any world controllers." And I kind of shrugged and went, yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. It's hard. I gently placed the older scroll back down. Then I hear some rumbling off in the distance. The further you get into the library, it gets darker and darker. Then out of the corner of my eye, up several floors on a balcony full of books, I'd seen kind of a figure. A man, maybe? I'm not sure. Couldn't quite make it. I did hear some rustling and a thud, as if they were trying to walk around, but they couldn't because there were too many books in the way, and they were kind of stumbling in a goofy way. I kind of chuckled, thinking to myself, yeah, I bet if I was up there, I'd probably fall off by tripping. There's so many books. And I just go back about to what I was doing. And I found a very large book. When I say large, I mean large. This we're talking 24 inches wide and probably pushing 32 inches tall. Huge. And it had to at least be 8 to 10 inches thick. Just massive, massive book. This one was dusty, very, very old looking. Dare I say, kind of ancient grimoire, like there were intricate patterns of flying animals that looked like dragons in the sky. Just very interesting book. I had to look inside. I mean, how often do you see a book that large and that also looks that old? So open it up, and immediately I can only open the book to one page. All the other pages, they're there. I can see them. I can feel the texture and the edges of the pages, but they won't come apart, as if the book is only allowing me to open to one page. No skimming allowed. And this one had a short paragraph written on it, something along the lines of, "In the real universes beyond your limited dimension, dragons were known as real universals and had the gift to see is with inner eyes. To them, they mated only when they both wanted same frequencies of real you existence, which are not for unaware ones, but can be seen by one who sees the other real universal sight, like the new presentation, and have been passed through bloodline in intergalactic space from a different time on this human farming planet." There was more to read, but I was abruptly interrupted and startled a little bit. I heard more crashing, which caused me to stop and turn around. But upon turning around, I lost my grip on the book, and it slammed shut. I tried reopening the book, but it would no longer open back. And then the man that was 3 stories up was now on the second story. It's definitely a man. For some reason, I get the feeling he's smiling, and I feel no danger from him. And then he just lets out this weirdest noise I have ever heard. It was like a but it was much louder than that, and it echoed, and he continued to go ting 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 ting, and he just ran off, cackling as if he thought it was the funniest thing ever, and symbolizing that just don't take it so serious. And at this point, I had woke back up and began writing the rest down as clear as I could remember. And that ends my dream.
You crew, we gather round real guides, bring the truth profoundly. These are Germans here, follow me to the message clear. Go Paul, Das, and Paul, they say DUANE, so writer, leads the way. Time to madness, it's blight, gotta wake up, see the light. Don't think, just feel the vibe. The sun's are gonna cause it dry. Break the chains, the mental hold. Truth unfold, the storms are guide. A cosmic drive. Break the chains, the mental hold. The truth unfold, the story told. We strong, a united front. Against the darkness, we will hunt. Time to break the simulation spell with new you power. We are skibbity new you. Breaking free from the matrix. Dark forces lurking, reptilian scheme. That lies that control a twisted dream. You together, we rise above. Shattering the lies, spreading risky. I knew you staring at the thing to be done. Staring at the sun, the only thing to be